So we have broken down question 1 in quite a bit of detail, but I am going to go through everything again tonight. Please feel free to ask questions along the way. I don't know if you guys saw, I put those videos up on BC Learn last week, which spoke to Habermas and his public sphere, so that you had the support of that learning unit, so that you could start working through the public sphere then, rather than waiting for tonight. And there are so many videos also on YouTube. If you don't quite like how I've explained it, there are so many additional videos also on YouTube and websites and everything. So he's a pretty famous dude. So, but we're going to speak about that tonight as well. All right. So before we begin, obviously, guys, you know the rules. Please be careful with your in-text referencing and your reference list. I hate taking off -5 and -10 or sending someone in for plagiarism with, leaving off a reference list or what have you, especially for you guys, because then you get capped at 50. So, I just have to say those things, even though you are, not first years. I just want you to be aware of it, and it would be bad of me to not say anything. So please just be careful with your referencing. Make sure you integrate references. Make sure that those references actually support one another, and make sure that they give depth to your answer. Okay, so I'm just going through this to get to the right page. Okay, so you've got 3 questions, and what's important is that they are all compulsory. They're all important. And you obviously need to make sure you stick closely to the word count. I can give you guys a 10% leeway being second years, but please don't go over that. And in terms of going under the word count, you can never go under, but you can go that little bit over. All right. Before I get into breaking down question or part 1, 2, and 3, is there anything you guys want to ask or check with me first? So I'm talking quickly, obviously, because we've only got an hour. Okay, cool. All right. So the context of question 1 is obviously the photo that was released by Kensington Palace. And the photo that got released, we picked up so many issues in terms of photoshopping, and we had that whole big discussion on the ethics and what, the levels of photoshopping and that in our previous collab. So please go and listen to that, because we had a really interesting discussion about it. Tonight we're just going to go through the essentials for the NSS. So what's important to understand with this question, it's not only about the photoshopping, but it's also to think about, how with TikTok, influencers, social media, how the everyday person has more of a voice than they had before, holding celebrities and people of power accountable for their actions. So it's not only about what they did, but it's also about how we as society can keep each other supported, and we can keep hold people accountable for their actions when they do things that are out of line. All right. So here you can see they show, how many is it? 16? Yes, 16 areas of photoshopping that they picked up in the picture. Okay. And obviously it didn't help with the scandal before. The scandal, I say in air quotes that you can't see, that there was Kate was in the British press quite prominently because she disappeared. Little did we know at that point that she obviously had the cancer diagnosis. So there was so much speculation and rumor around her that they already had quite a watchful eye over her at this point in the UK. And because the Brits love to hate the royals, this was just kind of one of those final nail in the coffin kind of things, going, see, they're all just fake and they just put on a show and nothing they say or do we can trust, and so on and so forth. Okay. So for this particular question, you are going to write a discussion about the difference between planned and unplanned media effects. Explain whether the above photo can be seen as an intended or unintended effect. So your discussion is only 500 to 800 words. So now if you remember, I just want to get the right, sorry, let me just check if I'm getting the right ordering here, where I shared with you guys the planned and unplanned effects. All right. So obviously when you have a planned effect, that's where you're thinking your media campaigns, your propaganda, where you are deliberately trying to put out a particular perspective, or you are trying to sway the public in a certain way, and there is a planned effect. This can be a positive or negative. Some campaigns that are released are done even though they know there is going to be a negative effect, but at the same time they are wanting exposure rather than not to be discussed. Or you can choose this to be an unplanned effect. So it's something that's been released but ends up having an effect on society. So the discussion around Photoshop, the ethics of photo manipulation, whether or not we can trust media organizations such as the Royals, because don't forget they have a whole PR team. So it's important to understand that there's this difference between your planned and unplanned effects. And why that is important is that a planned effect, where you are where you're doing something with an intention, especially if it's to manipulate or twist or deliberately cause harm to society, that's got a much more serious ramification than an unplanned effect. Unplanned effect is they release something and something goes wrong. So it's, there's that, everyone talks about the Tresemme ad with the hair, and it's the question, was it a planned or unplanned effect? Did they deliberately plan to release that media knowing it was going to cause a stir? Or were they that naive to how South Africans perceive themselves and pass criticisms, and it was unplanned? I don't know. I'm still undecided on that point. There is that thing of there's no such thing as bad media. I wouldn't agree with that statement, but I think if someone hasn't been part of the media environment for a long time and they're kind of fading into the background, they'd rather be spoken about than not spoken about at all. So you have to, for yourself, choose if you think it was planned or unplanned. So when it's unplanned, there can be reality defining. So that is specifically what the Photoshop comes into play. There was a collective reaction. There was no media violence. But the question here is, whether or not you think it was intentional for them to release a photo that was photoshopped, or if the intention was more to draw the focus away from Kate being not in the public eye, and her releasing the photograph, not realizing that the tweaks to the photo would have such big consequences, because then it raises that question of how far is it, in terms of ethics, how far can one go with editing? So as I pointed out to you guys previously, it is based on a very small section of theory of the textbook. Obviously, you need to bring in additional sources. You need to look into the discussion surrounding the Royals and the release of this photo. And then obviously, subsequently after this photo came out, people looked back at other photos, as we've discussed, and were like, oh, wait, look at that. That's where there's more Photoshop, and people are starting to pick and dissect the images. But what's important to understand, it's not only the media picking apart this release, this PR media, but it's actual society members. It's us as society being able to hold people accountable. So in your discussion, when you're discussing this planned and unplanned media effects, and whether if there is an intended or unintended effect, you're not only focusing on the media itself, but also society and how we as society get involved within the narrative now. So do you think it was their intention to deliberately release a photoshopped image to deceive the public, or do you think it was the effect that it had was unintended? They didn't deliberately do that. They just thought they were releasing a cute family photo that would take the pressure off Kate Middleton during this time as she was trying to come to terms with her diagnosis. So what is important here is you get to choose. There is no right or wrong answer. If you say it is planned and intended, then you go for it. If it's unplanned and or unintended, then that's fine, as long as you have a strong argument to the discussion, as long as you support your argument, and as long as you have evidence to back it up. So I will not mark you down if your views differ from mine. I'm purely looking at it from an academic perspective and looking at how you support your argument. And as it is a discussion, think about in terms of the structure. It is just a discussion for 20 marks. There's no introduction, no conclusion. It is just straight discussion, breaking down what you think. Okay. Questions about part 1? Any and all questions? Is there anything you're not sure of? Chantal, Megan, Sebastian, sorry, I know you've just come on, so you'll obviously have to catch up. Okay, it's a very straightforward question. Just remember to only use that small amount of, well, you can draw in other information. You can draw in content from the media effects theories, if there's stuff that you find that is relevant, but otherwise it is just the section that is there. Evening. Okay. Sorry, let me pull up the date. Sorry, I should have had my diary next to me. If I remember correctly, you guys are 7th, yeah. Yeah, because I've got 3, 5th, and 7th, and you guys are 7th. So the Friday. Hopefully that works okay. Hope you don't have other things due that day. I've got quite a few students that have got multiple things due on the same day. All right, so Pavan and I have had a discussion on part 2, so we're going to catch you up a little bit. So part 2 is looking at media, culture, and ideology. I also put a video up, a link to a video for this section as well, just to, again, give you guys extra support last week so that when you're working through the content, you had something extra to support you. So let's have a look at this one. So you get to choose. So the Little Mermaid and the Snow White movie, the live actions, one's been released, one is still in the making. And there is been massive debate about the race of the women who are playing the lead roles of Ariel and Snow White. So I went, Pavan, we were talking about all this stuff, and I went and actually watched a video of the lead actress for Snow White, and one, she looks white, but my gosh, her voice is amazing. I can see why they wanted to cast her. So there is a big discussion about race and whether the people in these films should be the same as the animation, but the animation is obviously from a time period where whitewashing it was big time. And, you know, there's a whole lot of discussion around racial representation and taking films that were originally for white actors and then now casting people of color. Should it be that they replace people of white people, or should there be films made for people of color? There's a big ethical debate around this at the moment, and Disney are trying to be more culturally representative in their content that they produce. And in the way in which they're doing that is by, even in the live action, is having people based not on their race, but based on their talents. Not different perspectives of everything is required to grow, not only as individuals. That is very true, Sebastian. And this is the thing, is that, like I said, you know, Ariel's a fish, you know, so race to me in that one wasn't really, and to me it wasn't an issue. That's just my personal perspective, because her voice is absolutely incredible. Snow White, same thing. When she's doing another Broadway production, the lead actress is doing a Broadway production, and I watched a snippet of her singing. And what Disney is trying to say is that, you know, if it's a musical-based thing, the voice is more important than the race. Yeah, yes, there we go. And how dare you be more blue than me? I thought purple was the it color. Yeah. Anyway, so. And that's why also I put a whole bunch of links up for you guys on VC Learn as well. That's because, like I said to Bhuvan, I needed to do my own research because I wasn't as clued up on the Snow White discussion as I was on the Little Mermaid. So while I was doing my own research, I gave you guys that research. So I already know that you have a lot of extra sources available to you because I've given them to you. All right. So this one is an actual essay, and because if you're looking at 1,500 to 2,000 words, you're looking at a 3 to 4.5 page-ish essay. So, you know, this one you actually do need more content there in terms of your structure and your academics. Okay. So for this question, what you're going to do is you're going to choose Snow White or The Little Mermaid. Please don't go and bring up both. Oh, sorry, guys, I'm going to just have to, there we go. Please don't bring up both, because if you bring up both, then you will lose marks. It needs to be one or the other. Okay. So just in terms of structuring and thinking of how your marks are, your discussion around the theory is worth 15 marks. Your application of your chosen film is worth 15 marks. And then your introduction and conclusion is worth 10 marks. So I just want you to have that in mind while we go through the question. All right. So the reason why I bring that up is your discussion, your theory is just as important as your examples. Mark structure wise, there should be balance. So if you're working on, you want to do a 2,000 word essay, say 100 words intro, 100 words conclusion, you can go 150, whatever, you know, that's up to you. But let's say you've got 1,000 words left to work that you want to work with. That means 500 words to theory, 500 words to example. Please don't give me a theory-heavy essay with touches of examples. See those examples as just as important as the theory itself. That's super important. That's why I did put all those extra links there for you guys, because it is needed within this question. So if you have a look at what you actually need to do, so it says using Hall's theoretical model of preferred reading, all right, which I went through in the last collab, and also it's in a video that I released for you guys last week. So you can go and have a look, and that's about the you are either you are for, against, or you're a fence sitter. So you have to, it's about the different perspectives that you can take. So you have to discuss all three of Hall's perspectives when it comes to the readings. So the oppositional, negotiated, and now I'm going blank on my words. I'll pull it up now. Sorry. Give me a second. I am oppositional, negotiated, you're opposed, or you are for. Guys, what's the other word to opposition? As I busy pull up your notes. I will think of it in a minute. Okay, sorry, just pulling it up because there we go. Dominant, that's it. Sorry. Dominant, negotiated, oppositional. I don't know why that word slipped my mind. So you have got to bring in those three perspectives, showing how, what the dominant view is about your film, the negotiated view, as well as the oppositional view, to support your argument about how these films, or it says use one of the movies or stories mentioned in the case study above to unpack the given theory of Hall's theoretical model of preferred reading and the ideas of polysemy and intertextuality. So polysemy is where certain words, phrases, ideas have more than one meaning. Have a break, have a Kit Kat, break the chocolate, have a rest, same thing. And intertextuality, needing to understand the context of something else for something to make sense. So you've got to know about, I saw I don't know if any of you watched Supernatural, and one of the Winchester brothers were in a new series, and Supernatural was all about witches and demons and all that jazz, and they always use salt to protect themselves, and you draw a circle around yourself, and that's the demons can't come in. And then he walked into the home and he goes, here's a loaf of bread, and here's a thing of salt, in the new series, should I say, here's a loaf of bread so you never go hungry, and here's the salt to protect you from demons. And it was done deliberately, like there was a whole comment on it online afterwards that it was done deliberately, and he had that little cheeky smile on his face. If you had never watched Supernatural, that wouldn't make sense to you. So for some of you that might make sense. Exactly, breaking that fourth wall deliberately in that instance to have a bit of a tongue-in-cheek joke, which is, I think, quite nice. On the odd occasion when they do that, there are series such as what was it, Call Me Cat, which tried to do the whole breaking the fourth wall. It didn't quite hit home like they were hoping it was going to, but in some instances it does work. Those brothers grew up with Supernatural as their lives from season 1, them being young until the final season when they married. I know, it's crazy. But there's a lot of those old school series that we've literally seen the person grow up and change. I mean, also, yes, Rick and Morty. Oh, yeah, 100% agree with that. Done so well. But what's important to understand is that, again, it's even things like The Simpsons, their intertextuality and polysemy, they are big into it. There's so much stuff where there is multiple layers to it. They will say a comment which has so many other meanings. There is intertextuality like mad. Yes, they predict the future as well. Somehow, I don't know, they've got someone doing some witchcraft somewhere along the line. But it's even things like South Park. There is so much intertextuality and commenting on current affairs and that. and even then your lesser, your non-cartoony ones, you've got things like Grey's Anatomy even, they will talk about whatever's going on in terms of developments, like when there's been stuff with abortion rights. There's a lot of series where they do have some level of intertextuality if they are based in the current environment. Because obviously if you've got those series which are either based in a different era or based on, deliberately trying to create an other world, then that intertextuality doesn't come through as much. But so what you guys are needing to do is speak to the intertextuality and polysemy that is brought forward in these films. So referring to the films of the past, so their cartoon versions, and then how these cartoon versions are being recreated in these live actions, and how they are representing, maybe certain topics that in the past were handled differently as they were today, such as, gender rights. And there's a lot of things when you watch some of the older films, you go, how are we still allowing it to be shown today? What was I watching? Peter Pan. Some of the things in there, that film is really, really racist in certain places. But what people are saying is we've got to remember it's of that time. And then there's others saying, no, but then we're just saying it's okay to release it. And that's why in some of the live actions, we see things changing in terms of body positivity, in terms of accountability, and making sure, for example, that women are, consulted along the line, not, that typical heteronormative, patriarchal man forcing themselves on woman type thing. Kidnap children and Captain Hook tried to save them. Yeah, and it's what Wendy will be the mom, and when the boys all act like Native Americans and all the, I was watching it with, it's the first time I've watched it since I was a kid, because my daughter wanted to watch it, and I was like, oh my soul, this is not okay. Yeah, I think we would all enjoy a bit of that Forever Young idea. All right. Any questions with question 2? Part 2, sorry. Right, you're good. All right, let's look at part 3, the public sphere. Okay. So this is the only one I haven't actually gone through with you guys, so I will go through it in a bit more detail. So reading the extract, it says our media and the way in which we engage with it is changing. Apps gain and lose popularity depending on which celebrity or influencer is choosing to use them that week, month, or year. Before, society would rely on those in power and the media for information specific to their area in the form of a controlled public sphere. So the public sphere, as you guys from watching those videos would have seen, was that in between. So there would be those in power, and then there's the media being the public sphere, and then there was us. So the only way we were able to know what was going on with those in power is in this public sphere. And this is where, the bourgeoisie, those with money, let them eat cake type thing, are going well, actually, we want to discuss these issues. Why must we just accept them? So that public sphere was where society started to challenge what those in power were doing, and how the bourgeoisie found out what was going on was through information being distributed through media. This is when we started seeing the printing press being used more prominently, and also it was used for not only just, the distribution of your religious texts and what have you, but people actually started to want to know what was actually going on in the world around them. So TikTok is the focus of this question for you guys. I'm sure you all have been exposed to TikTok in some way, shape, or form. Some of you will love it, some of you will hate it. I particularly enjoy it because my ADHD brain likes it. It calms me down, but it's also because I like watching ducks and chickens and all sorts of random things. So I don't go for the influencers in that so much, but I do like watching some cool duck people and funny things and all that. But yes, it does help even me as an academic. I enjoy short little bursts sometimes. And addicted because all the colors turn your phone to grayscale. Yes, I know. It's all about the colors, and it's the certain audio clips and all that. I know. The problem is I still like the talking about the ducks and the chickens. Guys, I'm definitely in my midlife crisis phase, and I'm not even 40 yet. But yes, it's like when all the artist songs that were taken off TikTok, there was a significant drop in viewership because all those songs that people were loving suddenly weren't on TikTok anymore. So again, it's dependent on what influencers are using. So a lot of them still use TikTok, Instagram obviously still being popular, as well as YouTube. And obviously at the moment in the US, Biden is trying to get TikTok banned because he doesn't want the Chinese to have so much control over the American people. Sounds like you need some, yeah. Wouldn't mind a glass of wine right now. Thank you very much. But yes, I know which meme you're talking about. Right. So some people see TikTok as a decline of the public sphere because it is so childish. It is so vapid. There is not a lot of depth to it. So a lot of people consider TikTok to be the antithesis of the public sphere, while others see it actually as a reflection of the public sphere, because instead of it now just being the bourgeoisie elite being able to comment, it is now everybody, which is how it should actually be. So again, you guys get to choose which side of the argument you're on. I don't have a strong opinion either which way. Just because I like TikTok, doesn't mean whether or not I think it is the public sphere or not. You have to make that decision for yourself. And again, you're writing an essay, and so same boundaries as before. So what you're going to be doing for this essay is you're going to critically examine the concept of the public sphere. All right. So what that means is the first thing you're going to do is you're going to define the public sphere and actually explain what the public sphere is all about. So first I need that context. Okay. Then once you've given me the context into what the public sphere is, then you go and explain the public sphere and social media's influence on making or breaking public opinion. And then your examples have to reference TikTok specifically. So that is what is important there. It's not just about, you can't just talk about social media in general. You have to specifically speak about TikTok. And then what you have to do is discuss the impact globalization has had on the media and the public sphere, again, with examples of TikTok. For me, like Prime, the drink, is a key example. I was going to be cheesy, but I thought I'd avoid it, because that we had South Africans queuing in line for this supposedly awful tasting drink. I never bought a bottle of Prime. And that was all based off social media influencers on TikTok. And obviously these people are also on Instagram and YouTube and all that as well. But you would focus specifically on TikTok. Okay. Yeah. To me, if you're buying 30, 40 rand drink, there should be something stronger and it should be like amazing. But it's also the same with Starbucks, where so many people will buy Starbucks purely to have that Starbucks cup in their hand when their coffee really isn't the greatest. Okay? But it's about what is deemed popular by the social media influencers. And so how you bring this, so how you guys are needing to break this up is first giving me the concept of the public sphere, telling me what it is, what it's meant to be about. Then talk about it in terms of social media making or breaking public opinion. Then the third section is globalization and its influence on the public sphere. And then what you will do in the making or breaking of public opinion and in the globalization sections, in both of those, you will bring up TikTok as your example. Yeah, exactly. I know it doesn't taste like coffee. It doesn't taste like coffee. I go there for hot chocolate. Okay. So this essay specifically, it's those three sections. I still have never had a switch. I won't lie. Everyone on literally every second student on campus is drinking them. I saw there was a sour worm flavor last week and a Turkish delight flavor. My gosh. I have not had a energy drink in a long time. I think if I had one of those, I don't know what I would do with myself. I probably haven't had one in a good 10 years, so near cardiac arrest to feel alive. Hey, 10 rand per can. No wonder everyone's drinking them. Do they taste decent? Or are they disgusting? And everyone's just drinking them because they're cheap. Okay, all right. One day when I don't have any work to do or anything, and I can I'll have one as a social experience. And I used to just drink Play and Southern Comfort was my poison, mixed. When you're ADHD, nothing works or puts you to sleep sucks. Okay, fair point. Start shaking. Yes. See, I don't like that shaking feeling. Okay, I think I'll stay away. Thanks. The can is so huge. That's what gets me. I'm like, geez, that's like drinking 20 coffees in one go. Ooh, it scares me. I'm old, guys. I'm so old. Anyway, back to the focus of this. Okay. But you can actually use this whole thing, because I know Switch is on, it has been coming up on my TikTok feed. It's been up in billboards on the highways. It's everywhere. They don't sell them here. Oh, you need a trip back to SA so you can stock up on the massive cans. Yeah. How you lot don't have more heart attacks, I don't know. Can't be good for you that much energy drink. Anyway, back to the discussion. Does this question make sense? It's a very straightforward POE, guys. Questions? Nothing. Hopefully this will be considered your easy POE. So you can go up to 2 in terms of word count, but I don't think you're going to need to. Yeesh. They're not joking with the POEs this year. Oh, weird. 83 questions. No. Okay, well, we can cope with 3 essays. Well, 2.5 essays. 2 essays and a paragraph. All right. Any questions at all, guys, for this NSS? Oh yeah, I forgot about media law as well. Ish. Okay, when you're working on it, message on the WhatsApp group. I will help you the whole way through. Okay, well, let's finish this first and then you can ask. All right, message me if you have any questions, anything you need. I'm here. I won't look at drafts, but I will answer questions to specific points, and I will. I'm on campus the next 2 weeks, but I will reply as quickly and as often as I can. If I reply very short things, know that I'm quickly sneaking a message to you in between classes and stuff. It's not me being rude, it's just me trying to reply quickly. I'm at Durban North Campus. So I'm lecturing there during the day and then you guys at night. So, yeah, that's why I say I tried, when I see my phone lighting up and I see it's you guys, I quickly just say, hold on, wait, my other students are asking me something. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop the